Okay, so this movie, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, based on the classic written by Homer so many centuries ago. It is a long journey. It is, 2 hours and 52 minutes. My brain is still processing it. So I have to make sure that, for starters, I'm recording, because I was recording, but my mic was not selected. I did a whole walk-up and everything. I mean, I was just so fucking ready. Anyway, so the movie, it's quite long. It does a lot of flashbacking, a lot of shifting between the present and the past, because there is quite a long story to tell. And the thing with this is, you have to have the patience to hear it, to hear it and see it. So my thing is, a lot of the movie is shifting so much that you basically have to be staring at the screen. To me, in the editing process, I think that certain shots should have remained or have been lingered on, for us to process what's going on. What I mean is, there's sometimes when the scene shifts to another scene, you don't have enough information in order to process what's going on. But there's a lot of shifting between the present and the past, because Odyssey is played by Matt Damon. He has been sent off to battle by his lord, his king, and I'm going to go into my screen share to show IMDb page for this movie, because I need IMDb in order to, for me to remember the cast. And I'm going to go into the cast. So, top cast, you got Travis Scott as Bard. And this is, I guess, by order of appearance, because I kind of laughed when I saw that in the credits. The end credits is like by order of appearance. Travis Scott, I guess he did the music for this movie, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so yeah, you got Matt Damon as Odysseus. That's the guy that planned the whole Trojan horse thing, which is, I guess, was a gift to the Trojan, meant to be a symbol of peace between the Spartans and the Trojans. Because I think the whole history with that Trojan horse was, it was a gift from the Spartans to the Trojans to say, we're not going to be at war with you anymore. It was a gift for peace. But he and his men, he led his men to be inside this horse as a way, as kind of a way to enter, kind of like, not really guerrilla warfare, but a way to enter the enemy territory and, open the gates so that the Spartans, led by, well, I guess I have to go deeper. Led by, I'm trying to think of his name, Owie Duncan or something. That's why I have IMDb. Led by, let me see. Oh, Agamemnon, who's played by Benny Safdie. Now, Benny Safdie was in Oppenheimer, right? The last movie that we know by, Christopher Nolan. And, that movie was already long enough. It had 2 halves. This movie doesn't have 2 halves, but it's got a lot of story to tell. Anyway, you got Robert Pattinson as Antinous. That's one of the suitors that apparently Odysseus has been absent from his home and his wife for so long that she might as well have just forgotten about her husband, right? They believe he's dead, and even Antinous is like, he's not coming back. He says a certain line, you see that in the trailer, a certain line to Tom Holland's Telemachus, who is the son of Odysseus. He says, you're thinking about a dad who you never knew, like some sniveling bastard or something like that. Something along those lines. You can rewatch the trailer to get the full dialogue. Anyway, you got Corey Hawkins as Polybus. That's one of the other suitors that's apparently friends with Antinous, played by Robert Pattinson. And I'm not going to go into all these names because honestly, there are so many damn characters, I cannot possibly remember everybody. I barely remember. The only people I actually remember are Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, and Matt Damon. Those are the only people that I remember, and Anna Hathaway by name. You know, the guy that apparently, you know, he's the Punisher. By the way, I'll tell you his name, and wow, he's actually not among this list. Is that if I can edit this list to be a little bit more? Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna actually go back to where I went to get that. Okay. So we get the actual whole list. So, okay, so Anne Hathaway as Penelope. Penelope is Odysseus' wife. That's the one that still is waiting for her husband to atone from his 20-year-old journey. Apparently, the whole Trojan War lasted 10 years, an entire decade, but they get stuck on an island for a whole 10 years. That's 20 years. But amongst that is a whole bunch of shit that happens. And I will get into that in just a bit as soon as I'm done with the names. So, you got John Leguizamo as Eumaeus. He's like a mostly blind, a legally blind guy, getting old. He acts as kind of the wise man in the movie, if you get what I'm saying, feeding the dog and whatnot. He's already blind in one eye, but he sees kind of in his other eye. I think he's blind in his left, but in his right eye he can kind of see. But he would be legally blind. If he would, a person like that could basically qualify for, you know, SSI, supplemental security income, just on blindness alone, because he's legally blind. Because he has poor eyesight, even though he has one functioning eye. Mia Goth as Melantho. Melantho, am I saying that right? She's Penelope's handmaiden. Penelope's Soviet woman, or whatever, you know. Handmaiden, the servant of the queen's servant. Slave woman. Okay. You got Ryan Host as mentor. Now, Ryan Host, he was in The Walking Dead as a character named Beta, right? He's also from Remember the Titans, as well as Bates Motel. Now, I mentioned him in this movie because not only is he in the movie, but he was in The Walking Dead as the character Beta. And I mention that because there's another character from The Walking Dead that's in this movie. And I'll let you guess who that actress is as I find her name. It was, and you may have guessed it, just bear with me real quick. I need to get into seeing The Walking Dead character, because I need to find the actress. Thank God for IMDb, it says that. See. Samantha Morton, that's her name. So if I look up her Samantha Morton, I'm gonna Control F. I have to use Control Find. Samantha Morton. She plays a character called Soke, who is like this witch that actually tones in one of the trials and tribulations that the group has to suffer through. She turns Odysseus' men into pigmen. So yeah, there's that, and I'm still continuing names. I think. You also got Zendaya as the goddess Athena. Some people were wondering, what is Zendaya doing in here? What is Charlize Theron doing in here? He is who does Charlize Theron play again? She's not in Calypso. Now, I don't really remember who Calypso is. I think that's the name of Mutant X-Men. But if I can look up, let me search Calypso. Who detained Odysseus on the island. Oh, she's a nymph. She's the daughter of the Titan Atlas, because apparently the Titans both are the gods who created humanity, because Zeus's father is the Titan. I forgot. I'm not gonna get into that. Okay, so we got Zendaya as Athena. Now I'm gonna go into the story. Okay, so like I said, this movie shows a lot between. There's a lot of time manipulation. There's the present, there's the past. There's a lot of shifting between the present and the past, because we're constantly seeing what happens to Odysseus and his men. He loses a lot of his men during so many trials and tribulations. What happens in, I think, in the first tribulation, and this is after the infamous Trojan horse scene, the Trojan War. After the Trojan War is over, after the Spartans win the war with the Trojans, because they sneak in via that whole Trojan horse thing, Odysseus and his men get stranded on a certain island for 10 years. There is this Cyclops, and I think it's called Polymus or something like that. Polymus, if I use IMDb to, because it's apparently he's the offspring of Poseidon. And not Polybus. No, this is not actually in here. So Polyphemus, if you're watching the live stream, you watch the cheat. I was trying to remember the name without, using IMDb. I mean Wikipedia, not IMDb. Anyway, so Polyphemus, who is the son of Poseidon, and I think yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cheat. I'm sorry. I have to cheat because I'm a little sloppy on my Greek mythology. Not that I ever majored in that. Polyphemus is the one-eyed giant son of Poseidon and Teusa in the Greek mythology. I don't know who Teusa is. Apparently she's, according to Homer, the sea nymph, daughter of the sea god. Oh, so there's more than one sea god. Okay. I never really got into Greek mythology because it's just way too complex. Anyway, so there's a whole moment on the island when Poseidon's son, Polyphemus, he captured them inside the cave. They see these sheep, and I guess the Odysseus and his men plan on, capturing the sheep, killing them, slaughtering them, and cooking them and eating them, right? So they see the sheep. They follow them where they're going, and they're all going into this cave. And apparently something else comes into the cave after them. It's this big-ass giant that has one eye. And there's a moment when Odysseus says, somebody says to somebody else, get away from the fire, because there's a creature that got in, and the flame will help the creature see that person. That person gets eaten by Polyphemus, the one-eyed Cyclops. And they're stuck inside the cave because the Cyclops, Polyphemus, he closes the entryway. He puts it's apparently closed with a rock. That's how he sleeps, right? There's a point when Odysseus is about to cut his throat with a sword, and he's very close, but what happens is he thinks for a second, it's like, and he tells another guy, the rock. He has to whisper not to wake up the beast. And he's like, so the only way that we can possibly get out of here is if that giant moves that rock out of the way. What we're going to do is we're going to wait. We're going to slip past him when he removes the rock to open. We're going to slip past him so we can sneak out. Not sneak out, but, so we can exit. They try just that. A group of his men do get out, but then Odysseus remains behind because he's got other men that he has to help escape. And that's about the only spoiler I can really give you. That's one of the trials and tribulations. After they escape the Polyphemus, the Cyclops, they pretty much they get out on the ship. then you end up somewhere else. There's a lot of naval navigation, a lot of sea scenery, a lot of scenes in the sea. Them constantly getting to islands and like getting lost. After being stranded on this island for an entire decade and encountering the Cyclops, they end up on yet another island that they need provisions. And if you don't know what those are, you can always use a Webster dictionary or Google. But those are basically supplies and food, resources, as the British say it. Resources. They need food and resources, water. So they try to get on this other island for provisions, probably the same reason why they tried to go on the first island where they got stranded. And I don't know why they got stranded. I really forgot. I'm going to watch it again, hopefully I can. A lot of the beginning of the movie kind of zooms by. That's why I said there's a lot of time differences, because it kind of speeds through a lot of stuff, and it kind of leaves you wondering, okay, you're going from island to island, what happened to this scene, what happened to that scene, how did you get stuck on this one island for 10 fucking years? I have no idea. Anyway, so they get on another island, and they see this child that is basically their size. This little girl or son happens to be the same height as Matt Damon's character, Odysseus, and you instantly think, that's a young giant, right? Because when somebody says, if that's the child, I hate to see their parents. Oh no, that's what Odysseus says. That's what actually Odysseus says. He says, if that's the child, I hate to see her parents. Turns out her parents are giants, and the giants come out. They're all in armor. It's actually the thumbnail for this live stream. If you don't get my meaning, and if I were to check on my live stream, you can just check out the live stream. Real quick, my bad. Didn't mean to do that. Anyway, so yeah, those giants that they encounter, some of the men die, but they happen to escape. They get back on a boat and they go somewhere else. I think the second island they go to, no, they end up going back to the island, but they go to a certain part of the island. And within that certain part, they encounter a little house, a little hub with the witch Soke, played by Shannon. I think her name is Samantha Morton, the woman that played Alpha in The Walking Dead, alongside Beta. The Beta played by, see, I'm terrible with names. I'm just so terrible with names. I'm incredibly terrible with names. I don't remember anything. See? Anyway, so, if you just push the home button, Jesus. So you got that. She turns them into pigs because she does feed them because they're hungry. But there's this food spell that the food has. You see them eating like they've been starving for days, but apparently the food has been cursed with the spell. They cannot stop eating. Because you see the horror on their faces, and they're trying to not eat, but they can't help it but eat. And I guess it's meant as a distraction, or maybe there's something in the food to control them, while she somehow turns them into pigs. So this is that Pigman name that you get. And I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, so I won't have to use Wikipedia. But anyway, so you got that. After that, Odysseus kind of he saved his men by convincing the woman to spare her men, to spare his men, to turn his men back into humans, and she does. Because apparently there's this thing where she doesn't trust men. Men have ruined her life, and she's just helping the men become their true selves, pigs. And but she turns them back into men, and they all escape. After that, they end up back at sea, still kind of hungry this entire time without provisions. By the luck of the gods, they have survived this long. There's one point when they encounter a whirlpool, rocks come to life, apparently. Those are the more creatures. There's a point when the Odysseus is told. There's a point when Odysseus he does some black magic stuff, including making a sacrifice. And this is because with Soki, the witch that turned him into pigs, she tells him to make a sacrifice summon Hades or whoever he was. And so Odysseus does just that. He summons Hades. Hades allows him to speak to the dead. And amongst the dead are you got, if I'm gonna use Control F here. There's a lot of talk about Elliot Page, and Elliot Page plays Sinan. Sinan is known for basically he stays awake while Matt Damon's Odysseus leads his men into the Trojan horse. That's meant to be a gift to the Trojans that enables them to sneak in and win the battle. But Sinan is and he's more important than you know. Elliot Page doesn't have a whole lot of scenes. He's not on he doesn't have a lot of screen time, but with the splits that he has, his character is important. Apparently, he switched places with his brother. He happens to be the younger brother of Robert Pattinson's Odysseus. So apparently, Odysseus was, because they pulled straws in order to figure out which young man is going to be in the war with Odysseus, according to the command given by Agamemnon, played by Benny Safdie, and it was supposed to be Robert Pattinson that was going to be in that amongst the army, people in the army, but Elliot Page switches places with Robert Pattinson. Not necessarily those actors, I should say the characters, because other actors play their younger versions. So just let me mention the characters. Antinius. Antinius is supposed to be in that army, but he switches places with his younger brother Sinan. And so that's how Sinan ends up in Odysseus' army. That's brought up later because Sinan, who is dead, he tells Odysseus something involving his brother. They give a message to his brother whenever Odysseus kills him. The message that Odysseus does in fact give to him when he does in fact kill him. I'm trying not to spoil it, but I can't promise. So it turns out I already have. Anyway, they have to kind of. So each dead person has to drink some of the blood that's meant as a sacrifice in order to activate their memories, or so they can even speak for some reason. I guess because they'll chained to death or somehow, and in order to kind of have the life to speak, they essentially have to drink the blood of the sacrifice. Anyway, so there's more than one character does this, including the Hades guy that Odysseus summoned. Agamemnon himself does it. And Odysseus is wondering, sorry I keep scratching my nose, he's wondering, how did you end up dead, my lord? And Agamemnon answers, my wife. Turns out his wife killed him. His wife, played by the actress from Us, as well as Black Panther, as well as some other movies, including the movie that came out 2 years ago, Quiet Place Day 1. I can't seem to find her. I'm trying to bring up her name. Let me see real quick. Alright, so I found her. So, Lupita Nyong'o, I can't pronounce her name, sorry, I just butchered that. She plays Adoro, much like Michael B. Jordan did the twins, the Smokestack twins in last year's Sinners. She's also pulled the twins. She's playing Helen and her twin sister Clytemnestra. Man, did they have some weird ass, long ass names in Greece. So Helen is, Helen of Troy. She turns out to be the wife of I want to say the Punisher, but I know that's not his name. I'm sorry, I really can't pronounce the names. Okay, so John Barthol, he plays Menelaus. who is the brother of Agamemnon. I still can't pronounce his name. Agamemnon. So apparently Agamemnon, he was married to Helen's twin sister. And Helen's twin sister, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm just going to say Helen's twin sister. She kills Agamemnon because apparently earlier she killed their daughter. Agamemnon being Greek, being, I guess, white, and I put that in quotes because obviously this is before, race was created. Him being white and his wife being black, they have a mixed child. And I say that because Zendaya being biracial, never mind the wokeness that surrounds this film, or the perceived projected wokeness that surrounds this film. Her being black and her being white, they have a mixed kid. And he throws that daughter into the sea because I guess he didn't like the idea of having a mixed kid. He couldn't, which I don't get it because publicly she's his wife. Maybe there's a little bit more to that than I know. I'll have to research that. But he kills their daughter, so in response, she remembers that. She holds on to that pain, that memory for so long that she seizes her opportunity to kill him. And that is how Agamemnon ended up dead. This is the story that he tells to Odysseus, because Odysseus didn't witness his death, he didn't see it. So, anyway, after this whole thing with the dead, they have yet more trials and tribulations at sea. Apparently he's got this warning somehow, do not eat the pigs. No, oh, that's right. The guy that he summoned, the Hades guy, he tells them, do not slaughter Apollo's cattle. Do not kill the cows that belong to the sun god Apollo. Because if you do, he will in turn kill your men. Odysseus orders his men to not do that because he knows that they've been starving, he knows that they're without provisions, he knows how they're going to get, so he has his men swear, because first of all, he doesn't even want to go to the island, but his second in command, played by Hamish Patel. Hamish Patel, he plays Odysseus' second in command, Eulochus, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce these Greek names. Anyway, so his second in command says, no, we should go to the island because how else are we going to get food and the rest of our provisions? Odysseus agrees, but he has his men swear that they will not eat the cattle that belongs to Apollo because he warns them of the prophecy he received. At some point, they actually do eat the damn cattle. They eat the damn cows. They try to just live on food, but they can't. They run out. They're like, fuck it. As long as Odysseus doesn't see it, we could just dig this little thing and hide as we eat. And he finds him because he sees the smoke and the fire, and he's like, did you really think that if you dig a hole that I wouldn't find you? I wouldn't find out? Great. I wanted you to live, but you know what? Apollo sees it, because if I see it, Apollo definitely sees it. Talking about the sun god, pal. Talking about the guy upstairs in the sun god. Sun and light. You just fucked yourself. Congratulations, great. Anyway, so yeah, and after that is a long, big-ass epic storm that kills his men. And this leads Odysseus to being stranded at sea, founded by Charlize Theron's Calypso, where she nurses him back to health. He forgets he forgets all what happens, because like I said, there's a big thing with time manipulation. Apparently, he's telling the story as well as other characters. There's other key characters telling the story. It's not just Odysseus, but as Odysseus is telling it, he's telling it to Calypso, because he's trying to jog his own memory. He's remembering all the events, but for some reason he cannot remember what happened to his men. He remembers everything that came before, but he doesn't remember a certain key moment as to what happened to him. He thinks his men, either he abandoned his men or his men abandoned him. By the way, there was this whole moment when his second in command is like, the men and I think that you should go on this island alone, that we should just leave you. And, Odysseus says, mutiny. So that's kind of leads you to think that maybe that's what happened. Maybe he his men abandoned him and left it for stranded, you know. Anyway, so that didn't happen. So Calypso is asking him, you know, what do you remember? And apparently there's this plant, this flower called lotus, that he's been consuming for a while. She's been feeding it to him so that he doesn't have to go through the mental pain of what happened to his men, that his only pain would be physical. But this lotus also helps him to forget. And as he's been consuming it, he's been forgetting. But I guess his memories come back. He stops consuming the lotus. And this entire time, he's just trying to get home from the 10-long Trojan War. And he tells Calypso, I just want to get home. She tells him, in order to get home, you have to control your fate. So she tells him to control his fate, but also she tells him to surrender to the gods. So if you surrender to the gods, how are you controlling your fate? I think basically she tells him to stop trying to control your fate. Or something. Stop, just kind of let it happen. You know, surrender to the gods. And here's this point where he just kind of relinquishes responsibility. She tells him, stop taking accountability for the death of your men. Accept it as what it is. You know, there's a moment when he's reunited with his son. Telemachus, played by Tom Holland, and but of course, first he doesn't tell his son who he is. He just says, "I fought alongside Osiris. I'm one of his men. Your father still is alive. He's just not here, but he's around." He's pretending to be this beggar, and there's a point in time when he says to Tom Holland, he says, "Beggars are not born beggars." And the reason why this beggar is such a big deal is because Telemachus has this belief that beggars could be gods in disguise. It's apparently, according to Zeus's law, it's a tenet of Zeus's law that you are to not be rude or disrespectful or hateful towards any beggar, because a beggar could be a god in disguise, just to kind of check on people and see how they're doing and see if they're obeying the laws and whatnot. But there's a moment when Antinous, Robert Pattinson, and the other suitor, well, you probably know who the other suitor is, because, you know, they're being rude to beggars, notably to Odysseus himself when he's disguising himself as a beggar. And this all leads to an epic fight scene. You know, there's a lot of fight scenes. There is no one single fight scene like you see in Dune Part 2 between what's his face and Austin Butler's character. You know, everybody remembers that, and Timothée Chalamet's character and Austin Butler's character. And I say that because I don't remember the characters' names. I think I've been consuming a lot of the White Lotus. I think I'm forgetting shit. Anyway, so that's pretty much what happens. I forgot the ending. I'm gonna see it again. I try not to spoil it, but I end up failing. I failed my man. I failed him. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Hopefully this won't ruin your experience. I'm also live streaming this, so I'm gonna turn off here, and you can go see the movie. It is a long movie. Like I said, it's very long. It's almost 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 52 minutes. So be prepared for that. So.